Hello, everyone. We're back with Ken Dombrowski, executive life coach and master hypnotist. And we're going back to one of our favorite hot button topics that we actually have not touched in a long time, which is going to be narcissism. We just kind of had a renewal with feeling really connected to what narcissists do lately. And we really need to talk about the victim of a narcissist once again and kind of what to do, what to expect, and things like that.
Well, when it comes to being the victim of a narcissist, it's just this really highly complex and just drastically confusing way to live your life. You feel like you're in love with someone, especially if it's a relationship, type thing. You feel you're in love with this person, and you're going to see glimpses of the person that you fell in love with. So I call it the 90-10 rule. 90% of the time, everything is some range of crap. It ranges from mildly annoying from that person to just plain insulting and degrading and, dehumanizing. So that's that 90%. And then 10% of the time, you get the glimpses of that person that you fell in love with. The romantic person, the person who pays a little bit of attention to you. And then that person, the victim, in their mind, they're like, oh, all that other stuff is over. We can live our life happily like this forever. And then the next morning when you wake up, they're back to the other 90%. But the victim is still hoping that at some point there's a flipperoo, that it's going to become 90% good most of the time and 10%, problems, which would be reasonable for any relationship. So what we have to be able to do is be able to identify this stuff and really look at it and look at ourselves. Is this the way I really deserve to be treated? How much time has gone by here, and how much of it has changed for the better without me convincing myself? And even bigger, what about my family and friends? If my family and friends don't like him or her, then that's a big clue. What happens, though, is the victim of a narcissist will take the side of the narcissist with their justifying in their mind that, well, you don't know him or her like I do. And the truth of the matter is, you don't know the narcissist the way that the other people are seeing because you have some blinders on.
Also, like, the closer you are to a narcissist, the harder it is to see, because if you're close to a narcissist, chances are you're that number one victim or the top victims. I know a lot of the time we discuss narcissists, we're usually doing so in many different capacities, but I think for the sake of this video and understanding, we're going to keep it at that romantic lens, because it's too often that we have someone coming in that's either on the brink of divorce, in a terrible relationship, just finished a divorce with a narcissist. Sometimes they're the narcissist that's coming in and they don't realize it, and other times they are very clearly the victim and they had signs left, right, sideways, up, down, whatever, telling them that this person was wrong, but those rose-colored glasses, those blinders were on. And I know we always want to believe the best in our partner, but it's very necessary to take in the opinions of trusted individuals around us and to understand we are not capable of changing somebody of who they are at their core. If you marry someone and there's already red flags, and I don't mean just one or two things that kind of annoy you, I mean serious issues that can fester, you don't get married. Don't do that. Don't put yourself in a position to hope they get better. People usually get worse over time instead of improving. So the person that they are showing you from the beginning is the person that you need to expect throughout.
And in a relationship, it can happen. It can be kind of common. And no matter how this happens, it's not terribly healthy. But again, everything has this huge range to it. When in a romantic relationship, as it's kind of, coming and burgeoning and blossoming and whatnot, one person in the relationship, male or female, can just kind of start picking apart the other person's friends and family. Oh, all your friends are stupid. Your parents don't like me. They come up with this stuff.
Your parents like your sister better.
Exactly, right? They come up with this stuff, And you have to really understand what you're listening to. You're listening to someone who's trying to control, manipulate you, and most of all, isolate you away from those people, because those people can give you strength. They can give you clarity. They can give you this comparison to get a clearer view of what your relationship really is instead of what you believe it to be. So we want to really start paying attention to that type of, alienation, because that's one of the number one things in the narcissist playbook, if there was a playbook, so to speak, is to isolate you. So once they start doing that, and I'm going to go visit my mom, and that's all they have to say is that little scoff, and that's going to kind of make that person feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't go see my mom because it's going to give me a problem here at home. So I'd rather, okay, maybe I just won't. Maybe I'll just send her a text instead. So you see, that's how this stuff can grow and blossom and become something it really doesn't need to be. And you have to keep an eye out for that stuff.
And we completely understand that hindsight really is 20/20, and it's so much easier to see what you went through when you're no longer shackled to an individual or a concept of who they're capable of being. We know that it's easier to be like, duh, and you're so confused how you ever let it happen to you. But the thing is there just needs to be like, okay, that's happening too much. You know what I mean? Like, it's really easy to be in love with someone and be like, well, this is the person they were at one point. We kind of need to like understand when something's dead in the water. There's a big difference between basic grievances about my husband could do a little bit more around the house and my husband is actively trying to destroy my relationships, or wife. I am not saying that is gender specific whatsoever. There are female narcissists running rampant in society as well. It is not gender specific like it used to be. So it's just like very clear, like, if you meet someone and chances are that everyone around them is like, that person is crazy, everyone you know only has bad things to say about their past relationships, and it seems like everyone who's been in their path has actually been destroyed instead of, lifted up or contributed to, you need to take that into consideration. There's very few circumstances where someone is just getting dealt the shittiest life on the planet without doing something to deserve that.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. When you have these relationships and like a personal relationship with someone who is involved with a narcissist, and you're watching it from the outside, because you're close to it, and you start to get that other person, he or she, and in this case we know who we're talking about. It's a he. Being a man in his 30s who had zero friends, not one friend in the world. None of his family talks to him. He doesn't talk to them. His ex-wife, he refers to her as demon, Satan, just all the most horrible things in the world. And so to look at that, you have to realize that it's him. He's the one who is all of this is circling around. He didn't just get, every single day he draws the lottery of the worst people in the world to come into my life. So I thoroughly believe that a majority of the people in his life, in which her quote a little earlier, you love your sister, your parents love your sister more than they love you. That's where that came from. That's where Lauren came from. Brought that from was this other person. So you're having this stuff that it's just so far-fetched that the victim has no choice but to believe it.
Also, there's like, we're talking more about like middle to like end of being done dealing with this kind of in like the marriage sense. But the other thing that needs to be watched out for at the beginning, and this is more known by society, but no trouble reiterating, is love bombing and rushing. Not only are they going to be love bombing you and convincing you that no one will ever love you like they love you and no one ever has and it's special and whatever the hell they feel like saying to you that day, they're also rushing. You're engaged before you know it. You're married after a short engagement. You're locked in, and your lives are literally interwoven. That is something that's very important to look at, because a narcissist isn't going to wait 10 years to propose. Most of the time, there are some narcissists that'll do that. And a narcissist isn't going to want a long engagement. No, how's the quickest way you get control of someone? Their finances. You're literally attached to this person. Even if you want separate bank accounts, you try and divorce them, there's a lot of shit interwoven there. You're lawfully connected to one another. They're going to want that. You know, some people just jump the gun, but narcissists are fully within that group as well.
And that's what you just described. That expediency of a relationship it's described as romance.
Love bombing.
Love bombing, romance. It's so romantic. Oh, we have this whirlwind romance.
I'm
Next
so
thing you know,
sure.
we're moving in together. Next thing you know, we're getting married. Oh, this is so great. And then it all just completely falls apart.
Yeah, it's like, I'm so sure about you. I don't need more time. This is forever. You know, like, that's stuff to watch out for. You don't want someone that's going to make you wait 10 years for a ring, but you don't want someone that's ready to give you one in a year, because they're both bad for very different reasons. And it really is hard to tell at first, but I think people need to pay more attention to the red flags than they're currently paying. I know emotional investment makes that slightly difficult, but I think an analytical lens is a little bit more necessary in relationships these days than an emotional lens. So anytime you can try and step back and see, like, what is my friend seeing? Or listen to the people that you used to value their opinion, you know, maybe before you got in a relationship with this person, that needs to be taken into account.
Mm-hmm. And they're not just alienating you from your friends and family. They'll alienate you from your own hobbies and interests.
Job even.
Yeah, they'll do what they can to convince you need to quit that job because they don't appreciate you. So you quit that job now, like you were just saying, now you're going to be more financially reliant upon that narcissist. More control. Mm-hmm. They take your hobbies away from you by telling you, oh, that hobby's stupid, or that hobby gives me a headache. That hobby is annoying.
My money shouldn't go towards that.
My money shouldn't go towards that. And so now you're giving up your hobbies, things that you find joy in, and everything about your life becomes that one person. Mm-hmm. And it's not fulfilling, not in the least. It's actually very destructive. And it's like being in prison. You know, you have a great deal of physical freedom, you know, legal freedom, but you don't have emotional or mental freedom.
Mind you, this doesn't mean every couple that would rather spend time with each other is magically in a narcissistic hold. He loves the shit out of my mom, and they spend more time with each other than they do anyone else. Neither of them are narcissists. There is a such thing as a healthy relationship where you prioritize and you compromise. So there's a lot of layers, a lot of levels, a lot of things to pay attention to. Nobody's saying it's easy. It just needs to be kind of like a background thought. Is this person making me feel like crap about me, what I do, the people around me, the decisions I make? Okay, like, let's have a conversation. If you're a drug addict, then obviously people are going to have those thoughts. But if you're just living your life and they're taking issue with that, you need to take a harder look.
Well, I actually have been called a narcissist a lot in my life, and it's always been by someone who I thought was a narcissist.
Yeah.
A narcissist, and then those kind of sounds like self-defeating when you have the conversation or argument. But usually the first person to label someone a narcissist, they themselves are the narcissist. It's just kind of how it almost. It's not 100% rule, but it's a pretty good rule to live by.
I rarely go around calling anybody a narcissist without seeing a lot of evidence and hearing it from other people first, because it kind of should be a majority thought. It's not just a one-off. It's the majority can see this every day. You know what I mean? But there are a lot of narcissists now, so a lot of them going around labeling that makes sense. Plus, you know, the line between empath and narcissist is very thin, because there needs to be a certain understanding of the female behavioral and male behavioral system and psyche in order to be successful at either. So it's a very thin line, but where you sit on that should be very apparent based on the way that you treat others around you.
Yeah, all it is. It's a very thin line, because narcissists they're during that time when they're nice to you, they're drawing you in. That feels like that's them using accessible empathy to know who you are, learn you, what makes you tick, and what makes you work, that you'll respond to favorably to them. And so that's where they really have the ability to use empathy, even though they don't have empathy.
Right. And the thing is you're watching them pretend they're building up others around you, but they're not actually doing it. That's the biggest difference. Like everything is to feed their own ego or self-preservation. It's not to actually lend anybody a helping hand. The only time a narcissist has ever helped him, it was to actually hurt him, to try and make things a problem, to cause issues that you don't even see are there. We all are victim of narcissists. He's a super empath. He does this for a living. He's a behaviorist, and he still gets caught by one. It's not a unique experience. It's actually universal at this point to deal with a narcissist and not know it till you get that hindsight, which is 2020.
Yeah, you really. I think everyone needs to have a relationship with a narcissist just so they can see how awful one extreme is, and then it makes the traditional red flags that you get off from the life coaches and dating coaches seem not so bad.
Well, and it works so effectively because narcissists are the type of people that most of the time they might be cold. So the one time they are what feels genuinely empathetic or affectionate feels so special because it's not something that they hand out freely or regularly. Right. So how like good people are just expected to be good, and when they do something bad, everyone's kind of like, screw you. But people who you look at and you're like, you're kind of just a bad person, and then they're nice to you, you're like, oh my God, they were just nice to me, and it gives you a soft spot. So that's kind of what it is. Like the type of person that, sometimes you might be like, they were nice to me this week. Chances are that might be leaning a little bit towards narcissism as well. I don't think kindness should be transactional, is basically the point. Good
point. Really good point.
All right. Well, again, we could talk about this forever and ever, all day long. Personal experience of clients, everything like that. But just honestly, watch your back. That's all you can do these days. Pay attention, analyze. Don't lead feelings first if you can help it. Think about it as removed as you can from your own situation. It's hard, but it's what's got to be done, and you can't stay. You got to leave.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. If anyone wants more information, more help, needs to run their personal situation past us, feel free to visit our website or call us today. We'd love to help. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good day.